Our series begins with Simon receiving a message about his daughter's location. He heads there and waits for her to appear. We learn she cut ties with the family and left home a while ago, but he continues to look for her, hoping she will return. A while later, he spots his daughter, Paige, standing in the distance playing the guitar. He approaches and calls her name. She gets nervous and runs away. He chases her down and tries to convince her to come home, but she apologizes and tells him she can't. At that moment, her boyfriend Aaron appears. Paige flees. Aaron looks like a homeless addict. He tells Simon to leave her alone, revealing that Paige considers her father dead to her. Simon snaps and punches him. A bystander films the altercation. Simon leaves Aaron on the ground to chase his daughter, but a group of guys surrounds him, restraining him until the police arrive and arrest him. His lawyer, Jessica, arrives to defend him. She confirms the boy he hit was his daughter's boyfriend. She warns him that the public is turning against him, showing him a video spreading online that lacks context. It simply looks like a well-dressed man beating up a homeless person. She notes the video has high views and asks when he last saw his daughter. He replies it was about 6 months ago. She came home for 2 days but was aggressive, even pushing her mother down, and he couldn't stop her. He explains he's been searching for her ever since. Jessica manages to frame the incident as self-defense, and she succeeds in getting him released from the station without charges. When Simon gets home, he is bombarded with calls and messages. He realizes the video has gone viral, and people are attacking him on social media platforms. Meanwhile, police swarm Aaron's house. We see he has been brutally killed. Detectives investigate the crime scene and issue a search order for Paige, considering her the last person to see him alive based on witness testimony. The next night, Simon and his wife, Ingrid, attend a parent-teacher meeting for their other daughter, Anya. Suddenly, Detective Isaac and Detective Ruby burst in, asking to speak with him. They step away from the crowd. Simon asks what they want. Without preamble, Isaac asks, "Where were you last night between 5 and 10 p.m.? Simon gets angry at the line of questioning, feeling treated like a suspect. Ingrid asks if this is about Paige. Isaac assures her it isn't. He pulls out a photo of Aaron and asks Simon if he knows him. Simon assumes they are there because of the video and admits he knows him, just as the rest of the world now does. Ingrid clarifies that this is the person their daughter is dating. Isaac asks when he last saw him. Simon says it was the day he hit him in self-defense. When asked why they are inquiring, Isaac reveals they found Aaron dead in his home last night, and it is definitely a homicide. On the other side of town, we meet Detective Elena, a very sharp private investigator. She receives a call from a man named Sebastian asking for help finding his son. At the same time, the police are breaking the news to Simon. Elena goes to Sebastian's house. He explains his son, Henry, has been missing for over 6 days with no news. When she asks if he called the police, he says they didn't take it seriously because Henry isn't a minor and they assume he just doesn't want to be found. He tells her Henry sent a text the day he vanished, claiming he was traveling with friends and would be back in 2 weeks. Sebastian explains Henry is adopted. He had a good relationship with his first wife, but she died when Henry was young. When Sebastian remarried, Henry couldn't adjust to the new stepmother, and their relationship became strained. However, Sebastian insists this disappearance is different because Henry never leaves without a proper note. Unlike this text, Elena promises to help. Back at the station, Simon is in interrogation with his lawyer. He recounts his movements from the previous night. When asked about his wife, he explains she is a pediatrician and had a night shift. Isaac provokes him, pressing for exact times for every detail. Simon gets frustrated. Jessica intervenes, reminding the detectives that her client came voluntarily and shouldn't be treated as the accused. Isaac shoots back that they are investigating a murder, not having a chat. He returns to Simon. When was the last time you saw your daughter? When you hit Aaron in the park, right? When Simon confirms, Ruby asks how he knew she would be there. He explains a neighbor saw her playing music there. Isaac notes that upon his arrest, Simon accused Aaron of holding his daughter hostage. Simon insists that is the truth, explaining Paige changed into a different person after meeting Aaron, describing the boyfriend as aggressive, violent, and mentally unstable. Simon loses his composure, admitting he is glad Aaron is finally out of his daughter's life. Isaac asks, "So you're happy he's dead?" Without thinking, Simon replies, "Very, and I hope he lost his life in the most gruesome way possible." However, he clarifies that despite that feeling, he didn't kill him. Isaac points out, "You have to realize you are the prime suspect from our perspective. You have the motive and the opportunity." Jessica steps in, asking on what basis he is making these accusations. Is it based on an edited video online that doesn't show the full truth? She demands a real investigation and evidence before he points any fingers. She manages to get him out of there easily. Outside, she gives him professional advice. Never tell the police again that you're happy about someone's death when they're investigating his murder, especially when you are the prime suspect. Elsewhere, we meet Dee Dee and Ash. We learn they grew up together, moving from one foster home to another, relying on each other for everything. They receive orders to kill specific people. We see them staking out one of their targets. Ash storms the place, threatening the man that he will kill his daughters if he makes a sound. He orders him to send a message to his wife saying, "I'm sorry, forgive me." He holds him at gunpoint, threatening to send the message himself if the man refuses. The man complies, and Ash kills him instantly. Simon returns home and reassures his wife and daughter. His daughter, Anya, tells him she spoke to her brother, Sam, who was worried about him. She asks her father to call Sam to reassure him. We learn Sam lives at a boarding school. Simon video calls Sam and fills him in. Sam asks, "Since Aaron died, where is Paige now?" Simon admits no one knows. Sam asks if the police suspect his sister. Simon explains the police actually suspect him. Meanwhile, Elena calls her mother-in-law, Lou, who is a tech expert assisting her. Elena updates her on Henry's missing person case, mentioning she found a comment on his Instagram from a private account saying they were waiting for him next week. She asks Lou to help identify the account owner. The next morning, Ingrid approaches Simon, insisting they find their daughter quickly before she gets hurt or killed by the murderer. She suggests they secretly go to Aaron's apartment to look for clues, as it was the last place Paige lived. He agrees. They go there, but the place is a taped-off crime scene. As they try to break in, a neighbor named Weber hears them. He asks if they are there for Paige, identifying himself as her neighbor and friend. They ask if he knows where she is, but he honestly doesn't. They explain they are looking for clues to find her. Weber, whom Paige trusted enough to give a spare key, lets them in. They enter to find the apartment a mess, noticing Aaron's blood everywhere. Weber tells them he saw Paige 2 days before Aaron died. She seemed in a hurry, heading to get her fix from a dealer named Rocco. He adds that he saw bruises on her face, indicating Aaron had beaten her. He admits he wanted to kill Aaron himself when he saw that. He hasn't seen her since. He advises them to see Rocco, giving them his location. Simon and Ingrid go to the underground spot where deals happen. Rocco meets them, asking how he can help. Ingrid explains Paige was a customer and bought drugs from him. Rocco bluntly states he can't divulge client secrets. Simon offers him a large sum of money to talk. Suddenly, a man named Luther enters, pointing a gun at them, demanding to know who they are. They explain they are just looking for their daughter. The situation escalates. Suddenly, Luther fires, hitting Ingrid. Another shot rings out. At the same time, Elena receives a message from Lou identifying the Instagram account owner as Paige and sending her photo. Police and ambulances arrive. The place is in chaos. Simon is in shock, watching his wife slipping away before his eyes. Isaac and Ruby take the case. They arrive for forensics. Ruby informs Isaac that Aaron's apartment was accessed. They learned the neighbor had a key, and Simon and his wife were there, then came here to ask about their attic daughter. She remarks on how strange Simon is. He openly admitted in interrogation he wished Aaron dead, knows he is the prime suspect, yet visited the crime scene and then the dealer's den. She notes Ingrid wasn't the only victim. Luther was also shot. Isaac insists Simon killed Aaron and theorizes he came here to silence Luther, the only witness against him. Ruby counters that Simon has a team of lawyers and a tough attorney, plus his wife is fighting for her life. Isaac argues that this is exactly the right time to pressure him into a confession. Elsewhere, Didi and Ash are parked outside a tattoo parlor waiting for their next victim. Didi tells Ash to vary his methods this time. Ash follows a man named Damien. Wearing a mask, he approaches him, raises his gun, and calls his name. As Damien turns, Ash kills him instantly without giving him a chance to react. Didi arrives, scolding him for using the same method again. They argue. A young boy sees them standing over the body and runs away in fear, having seen Didi's face. Ash chases the boy. The boy hides, but Ash finds him and kills him. Elena goes to update Sebastian. She asks if he knows a girl named Paige. He recalls hearing Henry talking to a girl by that name, assuming she is his girlfriend. She calls Lou, telling her Sebastian gave her a flyer found in Henry's room for a tattoo parlor. She finds it suspicious because Sebastian claims Henry never got tattoos. She gives Lou the number on the flyer to investigate. Before hanging up, she asks Lou to do a detailed background check on Paige. Back at the hospital, Simon sits by his wife. Her sister Yvonne enters with Anya. Simon reassures Anya that her mother will recover. He introduces Jay, Ingrid's colleague, handling her case. Anya asks when her mom will wake up. Jay explains she is in a coma, and they have no details yet. Everything will become clearer once she stabilizes in a couple of days. Detectives Isaac and Ruby enter. Jay tells them this isn't the appropriate place and asks them to step outside the ICU. Simon snaps at Isaac. "You came to my daughter's school, and now you're here while my wife is fighting for her life inside." Isaac interrupts, clarifying they are investigating a murder. He points out that Simon's wife was injured in the same apartment complex where Aaron lived and died, so now they aren't dealing with one incident, but two. And strangely enough, Simon's and Ingrid's names appear in both. Before Isaac can accuse him, Simon interjects, "We were looking for Paige there. I was doing your job for you." Isaac retorts, "And did you find anything besides getting your wife shot?" Simon explains everything that happened. Isaac asks, "Why did you go to Aaron's house knowing it was a crime scene?" He tries to provoke Simon, pushing his buttons. Simon sees through it and asks, "Is this your plan, to make me confess to a crime I didn't commit?" Isaac ignores the question and asks, "Who shot Luther?" We discover it was Weber who shot Luther. Simon doesn't give Isaac the satisfaction, replying, "Your guess is as good as mine. I was in shock the moment my wife was hit." Isaac warns him that withholding the truth won't help him. He reveals Luther is in the same hospital, treated for a shoulder wound. Simon storms off to confront Luther. Isaac follows, ordering him to wait outside. Isaac enters and informs Luther he is being charged with shooting Dr. Ingrid. Luther denies it, claiming self-defense. Hearing this, Simon bursts in, attacking Luther and demanding to know where his daughter is. Luther gives up nothing, stating he won't speak without his lawyer present. Isaac goes to Weber's house to question him but doesn't find him. He receives a call from Ruby, who reminds him about Dr. J. She points out Jay hasn't left Ingrid's room. Isaac suggests he might just be a close family friend, but Ruby isn't convinced. To appease her, he asks her to investigate Jay. Later, Simon stops by Weber's place. Weber lets him in. Simon updates him on his wife's condition. Noticing photos in the apartment, Simon realizes Weber was an army colonel. Simon thanks him for protecting them and shooting Luther, asking why he did it for strangers. Weber explains he felt responsible since he directed them to the location and put them in danger, wishing he had arrived sooner before Ingrid got hurt. Simon confides that he must find Rocco and asks Weber for his location, assuring him he won't implicate him. Weber replies that he isn't worried about being implicated. Rocco isn't dangerous per se, but his reactions are unpredictable. Weber takes Simon to Rocco's house. They wait for Rocco's mother to leave. Rocco tells them he doesn't know where the addict girl is. He says the last time he saw Paige, she came to buy drugs but had no money. He told her he wasn't running a charity and hasn't seen her since. He kicks them out. Before leaving, Simon offers a large reward if Rocco can find Paige and connect them. Once outside, Simon asks Weber, "Do you think Rocco can find her?" Weber replies, "He'll do the impossible to get that money you promised." Weber gets a call from his neighbor reporting a break-in at Aaron's apartment. Thinking it might be Paige, they rush over. Suddenly, they find Detective Elena there. She tells Simon she is looking for his daughter and asks where she is. Simon confirms he doesn't know her whereabouts and asks why she is looking for her. Elena explains she wants to find Paige to get to her friend, Henry, who is also missing. Simon says he doesn't know him and has never heard the name before. Curiosity gets the better of Elena. She asks him to explain what happened here. He tells her his daughter had a boyfriend whose body was found here a few days ago, brutally murdered, and Paige has been missing ever since. She looks at him. Before she can comment, he insists his daughter isn't a criminal. Nah. Having seen the video and knowing the background, she asks, "And surely you are the prime suspect, right?" He asserts his innocence. He asks, "We answered your questions. How did you find this place?" She reveals she received information that the last message Henry received was from Paige. She sent him this address, then changed her mind and told him not to come or visit her here under any circumstances. She asks Simon about a specific university, revealing Paige sent the message from there, seemingly a week before she disappeared. Simon is surprised because it is the same university his son Sam attends. He realizes Paige visited Sam, and Sam hid it from him. Meanwhile, Ruby and Isaac receive security footage from the hospital for the night of the murder. They discover Ingrid left the hospital that night around the time the crime occurred. Ruby points out that Ingrid lied in her statement, claiming she never left the hospital, and Dr. J covered for her. She tells Isaac she doesn't trust Jay and thinks he is hiding something. She insists they investigate exactly when Ingrid returned and where she went. Simon goes to the hospital with Elena. He finds Sam has returned and is there. After greeting him, Simon introduces Elena as a detective, helping them find Paige, effectively roping her into looking for two people now. Simon asks to speak with Sam alone. He pressures him, asking if he has seen his sister recently. Sam confesses Paige surprised him by visiting him at university. He notes this was after Simon confronted her in the park. Simon asks what she said. Sam replies, "She told me she wanted to get away from Aaron." He claims not to know more details. Simon asks, "How long did she stay with you?" Sam answers, 4 days. He explains he went out to fix her guitar, and when he returned, she was gone. Not only that, but she stole many things from him and his roommates. Simon gets angry that Sam hid her visit for 4 days while he was turning the world upside down looking for her. He points out this isn't the time to keep his sister's secrets because her life is in danger. Later, Simon sits with Elena and tells her Paige sent the message from her brother's place. Elena asks if she has stolen from him before. He reveals she once stole her mother's jewelry. He asks if that was the only time. Simon admits, unfortunately, no. He reveals that the last time she visited, she stole from them again. Her behavior was so aggressive they couldn't control her. It got so bad that Ingrid begged him to let her leave, realizing she had become a danger to their family. Later, Elena informs him that a memorial service for Aaron is being held tomorrow. She insists he attend, noting there is a high probability Paige might show up. She explains that even if Paige doesn't appear, he might find leads regarding her relationship with Henry and Aaron. When he asks if she is coming with him, she declines, mentioning she has a lead to follow at a tattoo parlor. On the other side of town, Ruby and Isaac ask the hospital secretary for Ingrid's entry and exit logs from the night of the incident. Dr. J walks by, sees them, and tries to turn around, but Isaac spots him and follows him, refusing to let him go. Isaac asks again if he is certain Ingrid never left the hospital during her shift. Jay maintains she didn't. Isaac counters, finding it strange since security footage shows otherwise. She left right around the time of the crime. Jay pivots, claiming she usually goes out at that time to get food for the staff. However, Isaac isn't buying it and becomes even more suspicious of him. That same day, Simon attends the memorial. He introduces himself to Wiley, Aaron's father. Wiley asks why he is there. When Simon explains he is looking for his daughter, Wiley snaps, accusing Paige of killing his son. He accuses Simon of helping her do it and tells him his presence is unwelcome at his son's memorial. Meanwhile, Lou calls Elena, identifying the owner of the tattoo parlor number as a man named Damien. Elena tells her she is on her way there now. She points out that Paige is the thread that will lead her to Henry and asks Lou not to stop searching for them. When she arrives, she finds the place swarming with police. Detective Alex warns her it is a crime scene, mistaking her for a reporter. She identifies herself as a private investigator and points out this wasn't a robbery. It looks deeper than that. She reveals she ran a background check on the way and knows the victim is dead. Alex asks how she reached that conclusion in less than a minute. She tells him she is good at her job. He dismisses her, saying they have enough detectives on the case. However, she hands him her phone with his captain on the line, effectively forcing her way into the investigation. Back to Simon, he chases after Aaron's mother after failing to get through to his father. When he approaches her, she realizes he is Paige's father. He explains why he is there, but she turns cold. She tells him to stop chasing a runaway junkie who might be dead or has disowned him. She advises him to go, care for his remaining family, and walks away. Simon persists, explaining this isn't just about his daughter. His wife is also in the hospital fighting for her life. He begs for any information, no matter how small. She reveals she isn't Aaron's biological mother. When asked about the real mother, she explains her husband told her he met her in Italy and she died in an accident. However, she later discovered he doesn't even have a passport and never stepped foot in Italy. Everything he told her about his first wife was a lie. We see Isaac and Ruby visiting the restaurant Ingrid frequents to verify Jay's story. Nurses confirmed she usually brings food. The owner confirms she is a regular, but notes something strange happened that night. She arrived at her usual time but left through the back door without taking the order, asking them to deliver it instead, something she had never done before. That night, Simon goes to Wiley's house, demanding the truth about Aaron's real mother. He realizes Wiley spoke to his wife. He pleads with him, explaining that Aaron dragged Paige into a filthy life of addiction and now she is missing because of his son. Wiley retorts with a bitter truth. I'm forced to reveal the ugly truth to you. Your daughter is the one who started this mess. She approached my son and corrupted him, not the other way around. Simon is stunned by what he hears. Elena checks Damien's laptop history and finds he visited a genealogy website used by adoptees to find their birth families. Remembering Sebastian said Henry was adopted, she senses a connection between the two cases. 4. Suddenly, Isaac bursts into Ingrid's room and finds Jay sitting there holding her hand. He shares the latest update from the restaurant. He also reveals he found footage of Jay following Ingrid, looking like she was afraid of him. He tells Jay they will finish this conversation at the station. There, Jay clarifies she wasn't afraid of him. She was worried about being seen together. He confesses they were in a relationship before she met her husband. When Isaac presses about where she went after leaving the restaurant, Jay initially refuses to answer but eventually admits she came to his house. Simon calls Sam, asking him to check Paige's diary for clues. They find a recurring abbreviation, BVB, but can't decipher it. Suddenly, one of Paige's friends visits Sam. They sit and talk, and he asks her about the abbreviation in the diary. She explains it stands for Professor Van, her biology teacher, noting he was close to Paige and helped her study. At the same time, Elena confirms with Detective Alex that Damien was indeed adopted. She shares her suspicions, asking, what if someone is targeting adoptees? She admits she isn't certain yet, but points out the case changes if Aaron turns out to be adopted too. She explains, we are looking for a criminal with daddy issues. She notes that if this pattern holds, they can track it to find other victims, as the killer is targeting a specific demographic. Simon heads to the university asking for Van, but learns he is on indefinite leave. He decides to break into the professor's room himself. A university student named Doug approaches him, advising him to save his efforts because the lock is too tough to pick like that. Simon seizes the moment and asks if he knows his daughter. Doug implies he knows her from a distance. When Simon asks about Professor Van, the biology teacher, Doug hints that his reputation wasn't exactly spotless, suggesting he is morally corrupt and might have been in a relationship with Paige. At the same time, Elena sits with Sebastian. She tells him Damien was in contact with his son before he disappeared, then breaks the news that Damien is dead. She reveals she discovered Damien was adopted from an agency called Hope and Growth. Sebastian is shocked. It is the exact same agency Henry came from. Elena promises to do everything in her power to find his son. When Simon returns home, he finds Isaac waiting for him. Isaac says they need to talk. He asks about Ingrid's relationship with Jay. Simon replies they have been friends for a long time. When he asks why Isaac is inquiring, the detective reveals Ingrid lied in her statement, claiming she was at the hospital the night of the incident. In reality, she was at Jay's apartment. Simon asks, are you saying my wife is cheating on me? Isaac confirms it certainly looks that way. Simon is devastated, feeling hit from all sides. Dee Dee and Ash arrive at O'Hara's house. We learn this is the foster home where they grew up, and she was the headmistress. Ash is uncomfortable with this visit, but Dee Dee refuses to leave. He begs her to let the past go. She tells him they can't move past what they endured in this house until they make O'Hara pay for what she did to them. Suddenly, Dee Dee grabs a gun, hides it behind her back, and confronts O'Hara. She asks her about her most vivid memory of their childhood in this house. O'Hara realizes what she means, dismissing it as ancient history. We discover she abused Ash as a child, burning him with an iron. She says, "Is this why you're here? To make an old woman feel guilty about something that happened years ago?" She claims he was a naughty child and she was just disciplining him. Dee Dee retorts, "Was I naughty too?" We learn O'Hara abused her as well, burning her with an iron and dislocating her arm when she was little. Dee Dee steps closer, saying, "You were curious about what we do for a living, right? Well, our job is killing people." O'Hara tries to grab the phone to call the police, but they stop her. She sneers, "I knew you two would turn out rotten." With those words, she seals her fate. Ash pulls the gun from Dee Dee's back and empties the clip into her. At the station, Ruby informs Isaac of a breakthrough in Ingrid's shooting. The gun used to shoot Luther is a model issued only to soldiers in the army. She asks, "Remember Weber? Aaron's neighbor? He served in the army too." Meanwhile, Simon sits by Ingrid's side, still reeling from the detective's revelation. Suddenly, he notices her wound has reopened and she is bleeding. He calls for the nurses and they rush her into surgery. Flashback to a month ago. We discover Dee Dee was working for a specific group. A man hands her an envelope, telling her this mission is a test. She tells him she won't be alone. Her partner will be with her. He agrees. Inside the envelope are photos of specific targets they need to eliminate. Henry, Paige, and Aaron are among them. Elena visits Simon at the hospital while he waits for Ingrid to come out of surgery. She tells him she discovered Henry registered on a genealogy website, the same one Damien used. She found out they both came from the same adoption agency and were communicating with each other. Simon suggests maybe Paige was there too. Elena is surprised. Simon then confides that there is a high probability Ingrid was cheating on him, sharing what the detective told him. Elena reassures him she will look into it. She advises him to check his daughter's bank statements to see if she registered on the website as well. At the police station, Isaac and Ruby discover Weber's criminal record is anything but promising. Isaac is upset, revealing Weber was his childhood neighbor before moving to the apartment complex. He insists Weber was the kindest person he knew and can't believe he is a suspect capable of hurting anyone. He mentions the last thing he heard was rumors that Weber lost his mind after his wife died and suddenly moved away with his kids. Simon confirms his daughter indeed registered on the website. He calls Elena to tell her. Then he calls Jessica, telling her he needs to take a paternity test without anyone knowing. Meanwhile, Isaac pays a surprise visit to Weber. Weber appears suddenly, saying, "I've been expecting you." Isaac enters the apartment and asks about Weber's son, whom he used to play with. Weber reveals the boy died 2 years ago. Isaac points out he is investigating Aaron's murder and the shooting of Ingrid and Luther. Weber tells him to ask his question directly without beating around the bush. Isaac asks, "You shot Luther, didn't you?" Weber refuses to give a straight answer. He simply states that whoever did it saved Ingrid and Simon's lives. Isaac asks if he killed Aaron. Weber clarifies he had nothing to do with that. Isaac asks, "Then who did?" Weber replies that if he knew who killed Aaron, he would have thanked him personally. Before Isaac leaves, he warns Weber to stay out of trouble. We see Dee Dee taking Ash to introduce him to the group she works with. Afterward, they separate. Ash enters the group's camp. We learn they call themselves the Shining Truth. Dee Dee is a true believer in their ideology, but Ash doesn't feel comfortable with them. He encounters an elderly woman dressed in strange clothes named Adiona. She asks for an update on their mission. He tells her they've reached the end of the list. She asks, "Who's left?" He refuses to say anything until he checks on Dee Dee. Adiona hints that if he has feelings for Dee Dee, he won't be able to reach her unless he joins their group too. He lunges to attack her, but one of her cohorts knocks him unconscious. Meanwhile, Elena visits the Hope and Growth Agency, asking about adoptions from the late 90s. The clerk refuses to help. She presses him, explaining she has one missing person and another dead, both from this agency, and suspects a third adoptee is involved. She gives him their names. He orders her to leave, or he will call the police. Before leaving, she drops a listening device. She overhears him calling a woman named Allison, warning her that a detective is digging into 90s cases and asking her to handle it. Elena investigates Allison and tracks her down. Simon visits Jessica, handing her toothbrush samples from his children. He asks her to secretly run a DNA test against his sample, consumed by doubt that his children might not be his. Elena confronts Allison. As soon as she sees her, she lists the names: Henry, Damien, and Aaron. She informs her 2 are missing and 1 is dead. She points out Allison knows them because she oversaw their cases when she worked at the agency. She asks if she knows a girl named Paige. Allison demands she leave. Elena threatens to call the police. Allison bolts, and Elena fails to catch her. Katie, Paige's close friend, meets Simon. She admits she felt guilty. She tells him she knows he is investigating Professor Van and confirms Van was indeed in a relationship with Paige. She reveals Paige had a huge fight with her because of him, and that Van tried to hit on Katie as well. Simon asks how to reach him. She suggests leaving a message on his email. At the group's headquarters, Ash wakes up to find Dee Dee standing over him. They apologize for what happened. Dee Dee takes him to meet the group leader. Ash watches Dee Dee bow to the leader. thanking him for performing his mission perfectly. Ash tells the leader, "I'm doing this for the money, not for you." The leader replies that it doesn't matter as long as the job gets done. He hands Ash a list of new names. At the hospital, Simon spots Jay. He demands to speak privately, then attacks him, asking how long he has been sleeping with his wife. We learn that before Ash left, Adiona slipped him a note. When he opens it, it warns him not to kill anyone on the list and not to trust Dee Dee. Isaac falsifies Weber's report regarding the Luther shooting, writing in the records that the suspect's alibi checked out and he is innocent. Elena goes to Allison's workplace to find information after she escaped. She discovers Allison has a friend named Stephanie whom she used to live with. Later, she asks Lou to find Stephanie's address. Detective Alex calls Elena, sharing a strange case he stumbled upon. The victim supposedly committed suicide, but 2 bullets were found, one in his head and one in the wall behind him. Elena remarks, surely he didn't shoot the wall after shooting himself. They are referring to Kevin, the first name on the list, whom Ash killed after forcing him to message his wife. After investigating, Elena calls Simon and details the incident. He listens, then asks, "Excuse me, but what does this have to do with my daughter?" She drops the bombshell. This man was also adopted and had registered on the genealogy site. She reveals she cracked Damien's password on the site and asks for 5 minutes to investigate further. She calls back shortly, shocking him with the news that Damien had multiple half-siblings. Henry and Kevin were among them, and so was Aaron. She explains Allison was the caseworker for all of them. Simon realizes, "So you're saying they are all half-siblings and they are all dead now?" She corrects him, except Henry. We're still not sure about him. That same day, Sam visits his father. He tells him he found Professor Van's biology account. He created a fake profile under Paige's name and messaged him. Van replied, revealing he is giving a lecture soon. Simon prepares to crash the lecture. He storms into the lecture hall, confronting Van about his daughter. Van asks, "How would I know?" Simon accuses him of having a relationship with her. Van is annoyed at being accused in front of his students. He insists he never had a relationship with a student. He guesses Simon heard this from Katie, revealing Katie is the reason he is leaving the university. He shows Simon messages proving Katie was obsessed with him. Simon is shocked and asks, "Was my daughter obsessed with you too?" Vaughn explains Paige planned to enter med school, and he only met her to help with her studies. He insists the rumors are false. He appeals to Simon, saying, "You of all people should understand," reminding him of the viral video and the public attacks Simon faced. Simon believes him. Meanwhile, Lou sends Elena a link to Stephanie's location. Elena goes to the address but doesn't find her. She leaves a note on the back of her card at the door, asking Stephanie to contact her urgently. Back to Van and Simon. Van reveals Paige came to him once in hysterics. She told him she was at a party, someone spiked her drink, and she woke up in a stranger's bed. Simon is devastated hearing his daughter was assaulted and went through such trauma. Van explains she refused to go to the police, so he filed a report with the university behind her back. When she found out, she refused to speak to him. She was called for questioning but denied everything. They couldn't notify the parents due to university regulations. Van reveals that days later, the suspect was brutally attacked at the gym. His name is Doug Molzer. Simon checks his phone and is shocked to realize Doug is the same student he met days ago who claimed Paige was sleeping with her professor. He realizes Doug manipulated him. Van adds that the next day he saw Paige looking happy and energetic, realizing she was using drugs. He saw her with another guy and assumed this guy helped her get revenge on Doug. Simon shows him a picture of Aaron. Van confirms, yes, that's him. That night, Simon goes to Isaac, demanding Doug's arrest. He tells him Doug assaulted his daughter and is surely the one who killed Aaron. Isaac takes him to interrogation, listening to the whole story. He explains they can't act unless Paige accuses him herself. He promises to do everything he can to help. Isaac has changed his mind. He is now convinced Simon didn't kill Aaron. The next day, Ruby investigates Simon's information. She tells Isaac, if Aaron is the one who smashed Doug's face like that, then Doug definitely has a motive to kill Aaron. She adds, poor Paige, the guy she thought was her hero who saved her, ended up beating and hurting her too. She points out Paige also has a motive and is a suspect. Isaac, now fully convinced of Simon's innocence, admits his mistake to Ruby. He confesses to falsifying the report to clear Weber. She scolds him for tampering with evidence when he knows Weber did it. He explains Weber did it to protect Simon and his wife. She warns him he could be fired and even imprisoned, but he assures her he made the right call. She decides to cover for him too. Elena calls Lou on the road, telling her Stephanie contacted her and set up a meeting, promising to connect her with Allison. Elena says she is on her way there now. When she arrives, she parks her car and walks towards Stephanie's car. Suddenly, we discover the person waiting for her is actually Dee Dee. Elena gets into the car, thinking she is Stephanie. Dee Dee asks her to leave her phone so Allison's location isn't tracked. When Elena asks who exactly they are, Dee Dee says she will explain the details later. Elena listens to her. Elsewhere, Weber visits Simon, telling him Isaac is a sharp detective who won't drop the case until he solves it. Then he reveals that on the night of the incident, he saw Paige. When he entered Aaron's place, he found him dead. He took the murder weapon and disposed of it to protect her. He tells Simon, unfortunately, Paige is the one who killed him. At the same time, Elena arrives at a cabin in a rural area. Dee Dee tells her Allison is hiding inside. As soon as Elena enters, she finds herself trapped. Dee is in front of her, and Ash is behind her. She realizes she walked into a trap and is about to lose her life. Ash raises his gun and kills her. They dispose of her body and take her phone. They find a message from Simon asking if she met Allison and requesting details. Dee searches for him to find out who he is. She finds the famous video of him beating Aaron and realizes he is the same man on their hit list. Meanwhile, Jessica sends someone to deliver the DNA test results to Simon. Simon asks the messenger for the good news. He learns the first sample tested positive. Paige is 100% his daughter, as are his other children. He is relieved to know Ingrid never cheated on him. He texts this news to Elena. Of course, Dee has the phone. She hesitates on what to write, eventually replying, "Thanks for telling me. Keep me updated, even if I don't reply." She points out to Ash that they need to eliminate Simon. She reasons, "If Elena was getting close to us, surely Simon is too." She tells him she will send a request to the group to add his name to the list. When Simon receives Elena's message, he finds it strange. He calls Lou, expressing concern for Elena. Lou admits she is worried too. He goes to meet Lou. She tells him Elena said she was meeting a woman named Stephanie to get to Allison. A few hours later, she sent a message saying she was fine. Lou explains this isn't like her. Simon shows her the message he received, and they both get suspicious. Lou says she will investigate and let him know. Simon goes to the hospital. Weber arrives, telling him Rocco contacted him and set up a meeting, seemingly having new information. He adds that Luther is out of jail and will be there too. He asks Simon to gather the money he promised Rocco. Ash reaches his breaking point. He scolds Dee for acting on her own whims and following her own plan. He complains he had to kill an innocent man just because she forgot her mask. He mentions she dragged him to O'Hara's house and the group's headquarters without asking him. Now they've killed a detective, and there's another man pursuing them whom they know nothing about. He reminds her they operate by specific rules. Ruby and Isaac confirm Doug is innocent of Aaron's murder because he was in physical therapy at the time. Lou arrives, wanting to report a missing person. She tells them about Elena's disappearance. She explains Elena found a list of victims, discovered they were all half-siblings, and went to meet a woman named Stephanie. Strangely, Lou discovered Stephanie is currently in Brazil, meaning Elena definitely didn't meet her. She insists Elena is in trouble. Back to Dee and Ash. She tries to convince him she never lied to him. He hands her the note Adiona left him, warning him not to trust her. She isn't very surprised. He asks why Adiona said that. Dee reveals Adiona's son is on the list. Ash is confused and asks about the group's goal. She explains the group leader has terminal cancer. His 2 children are set to take over leadership. She reveals he had children with every woman in the sect, fathering many sons, but decided only his 2 legitimate children would be his heirs. He put the rest of the children up for adoption. She explains he didn't worry for years, but when genealogy sites appeared, he panicked. He feared they would discover the truth, claim their inheritance, and dismantle the sect, so he created the list and assigned the mission to Dee and Ash to eliminate them. Dee tries to convince him of the group's ideology, but he tells her he isn't convinced or comfortable. She asks him to just play along and listen to her for now. She receives a message from the group approving Simon's addition to the list and ordering his elimination. Ruby and Isaac go to Sebastian asking about Elena. He tells them he hasn't heard from her in 2 days. He mentions he wanted to update her on new developments. They ask what developments. He reveals a letter arrived for his son, which he opened. It was from a woman named Victoria setting up a meeting. Ruby and Isaac go to the location. Isaac spots a woman who fits the description and approaches her. He says, "The person you're waiting for isn't coming. You're here to meet Henry, right?" She asks how he knows. He identifies himself. Ruby joins them, asking about her relationship with Henry. Victoria confesses she is Henry's mother. She tells them about the sect. She was a member, got pregnant by their leader, Casper, and had Henry. They took him from her, told her he died, and later she escaped. Recently, Henry found her through the genealogy site and contacted her. They communicated via mail to avoid the internet so no one could track them. She admits she confronted the group later, accusing them of keeping Henry from her after discovering he was alive. She blames herself for what happened. Ruby and Isaac try to reassure her, promising to find him. The next day, Dee and Ash go to Aaron's house to finish their mission and kill him, unaware he is already dead. They break in, only to find someone beat them to it. It is a crime scene. Leaving the scene, Dee spots Simon arriving with Weber to meet Rocco. She says, "Look, he came right to us." They follow him to finish the job. Simon hands the money to Rocco. Rocco reveals witnesses saw his daughter getting on a bus headed to the Brackmere area. The name sounds strange to Simon. He has no idea what his daughter would be doing there. Rocco confesses Luther didn't shoot his wife by accident. He meant to do it. At that moment, Luther spots Dee and Ash watching them with weapons. He alerts the others. Ash shoots Luther, killing him. They also kill Rocco. Simon hides. Weber shoots back but gets hit in the arm. Just as Dee approaches Weber to kill him, Simon pushes her away. Suddenly, Weber raises his gun and shoots Ash in the neck. Dee screams with all her might, rushing to Ash. Simon grabs Weber and they flee the scene. Dee tries to save Ash, but it is too late. She can't stop the bleeding and he dies. Dee breaks down in tears, then goes berserk. She decides to chase them and avenge her partner. She runs after them, firing wildly. She catches up to Simon, raises her gun, and shoots him in the back. Just as she approaches to finish him off, Adiona appears and throws Dee off the building, killing her. Simon loses consciousness, never knowing who saved him. Police and paramedics swarm the area as the chaos settles. Simon leaves an urgent message for Isaac, passing on the lead he got from Rocco about his daughter's whereabouts. The investigators soon realize that the area Paige fled to is dangerously close to the cult's headquarters. Using the address provided by Victoria, Isaac and Ruby lead a massive raid on the residential complex, rounding up everyone inside. Their main objective is to find Casper, the self-proclaimed chosen one. He is the mastermind behind multiple disappearances and is the prime suspect in the murders of Kevin, Damien, and Aaron. Isaac eventually discovers a secret room where Casper is hiding. Realizing he is cornered, Casper tries to swallow a suicide pill, claiming he is dying of cancer anyway, and won't give Isaac the satisfaction of an arrest. However, Isaac acts quickly, taking him down and bringing him into custody. Later, Isaac visits Simon in the hospital to update him on the case. The group calls themselves the Shining Truth. It turns out Casper had multiple children with different women in the sect, and Aaron was one of them. When these children began finding each other through genealogy websites and tried to track down their father, Casper panicked. He hired Dee and Ash to eliminate his illegitimate children to ensure that only his chosen heirs would take over the cult. Isaac also confirms that Elena was killed because she had come too close to uncovering the truth. Adiona pays Simon a private visit. She reveals she was one of the women Casper impregnated before stealing her child. She found her son through the same website and realized he was on the hit list, which is why she was tracking the assassins to stop them. She thanks Simon for keeping her involvement a secret and making Dee's death look like an accidental fall. Tragedy strikes again as the police eventually recover Elena's body, leaving Lou and Simon devastated. However, amidst the grief, Simon spots a familiar figure sitting by Ingrid's hospital bed. It is Paige. Overcome with emotion after months of searching, he pulls his daughter into a long-awaited embrace. Paige tearfully apologizes for the pain she caused, explaining that she's been in a rehabilitation center for a month. She promises to return home for good once she is fully clean, wanting to ensure she never hurts the family again. Paige reveals that Aaron had tracked her down in rehab and forced drugs back into her system, which explains her state when Simon saw her in the park. As they talk, the ultimate secret is finally revealed. Ingrid was the one who killed Aaron. She did it to protect Paige from his brutal abuse. Simon, desperate to protect what is left of his family, promises to keep this secret forever. Ingrid eventually wakes from her coma and begins her recovery. She confesses everything to Simon, stating she has no regrets because Aaron was a monster who would have never let Paige go. She explains that Jay provided her with a fake alibi, and Luther only targeted them because he had witnessed her leaving the scene of the murder. They agree that from now on, there will be no more secrets between them, but the darkest truth is still hidden. Days later, Simon sits with Paige and reveals what he has uncovered. He knows that Aaron wasn't just an abuser. He was actually Ingrid's biological son, the one Casper stole from her years ago. Paige admits she already knew the truth. She had manipulated her own mother into killing her own son as a twisted form of revenge for the trauma Aaron put her through. Simon looks at his daughter and realizes that if Ingrid ever finds out she killed her own child, it will destroy her. To keep his family from falling apart, he decides to bury the truth forever.